Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick side video. I'm actually filming the lactation bake video at the same time, but I just did a quick change of Havila. I'm trying to get her to feed properly. She's being a bit of a bum. And I thought that I'd really like to reiterate and say a couple of things. So firstly, I'm on a few mothers groups, as I'm sure most of us are. And it often gets talked about, and I've also been asked a few times about why we bother expressing before birth and why people think we shouldn't and all that sort of thing. So a few notes on that. So number one is obviously they talk about how you shouldn't express before 37 weeks. So I received a leaflet from the hospital when I asked for an expressing kit, and this has happened twice now, both with Noah and with Havila. I got the same thing. It says that it's been disproven that expressing before 37 weeks brings on labour. It can just help to ripen the cervix. With Noah, I expressed from 16 weeks. I didn't start storing it until 30, but I started expressing it at 16 weeks. My doctor advised that might help to the stimulation of my breasts and my nipples, might help to encourage my body to make more. Or at least to prepare my body for making milk and stuff like that. Now, I don't know how true that is. The guy turned out to be a freaking weirdo, and I've not heard anything so much similar since, except the other day at my IBCLC appointment, when she mentioned that the fact that I'd been nursing Noah up till now should be relatively indicative of not having an issue with milk coming in so much. The reason that was with Noah, why I started expressing early, and why I was expressing my issues so early to the doctor, was because I have markers for IGT, so insufficient glandular tissue. Now, as I've said in the past, I had breast implants done when I was 18. I actually got a Medicare rebate for that because I think what it was called was tubular breasts. And therefore, Medicare gave me, I think it was an $800 rebate on my surgery. So tubular breasts are a sign of IGT and hyperplasia, I'm pretty sure. So when we had low supply with Eden and we couldn't figure anything out, we went back to looking at that. So when I had my surgery, they were obviously tubular, so different size, completely. I know everyone has a smaller one, but mine was over a whole cup size different. And I have really quite large flat nipples. So all of those things are indicators that I was going to have a hard time with supply and feeding. So with Eden, we pretty much put it down to it not being something I can control. So with Noah, I wanted to do as much as I could to try and help with any issues I might have and get my milk and give him the most amount of milk that I could, I guess. So that was the plan. And obviously when I was pregnant with Havila, I was still nursing Noah throughout, and then I started expressing early and I started storing. I've never had any problems. In saying that, they do not recommend it if you're a high-risk pregnancy. So that's one point. Is I just want to point out that there's not, for a typical, normal, healthy pregnancy, there is not supposed to be any issues with expressing early. Another reason that I think doing so early is good is because I had it in my mind with Eden for some reason that if I expressed my colostrum, I wasn't going to have any more when she gave birth. I thought there was some sort of, I guess, restricted amount that you got, so you could get X amount of colostrum, but then it turned to breast milk. And I thought it would be better her getting it straight out of my boob. Why would I waste it? Obviously, I now know that's not true. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyhow, so in doing that, Noah had jaundice and Havila had a little bit of jaundice, but it wasn't mentioned till it wasn't enough that I could see it so much myself, and it wasn't really mentioned until it didn't really matter anymore. So with Noah, it was really handy to have had expressed milk because they wanted me to do top-ups, and I didn't want to do formula top-ups. He ended up throwing up the top-ups anyway, so he didn't need them. I was making enough milk for him without it. And with Havila having it there, I've been using it as top-ups now while we try and teach her how to suck and stuff like that. So it's been really handy having that milk there. So I think it really is a good thing for people to express and get some sort of stores up for them in case anything goes wrong. Another thing is you can always use the colostrum for, like, if your kids get sick down the line, or nappy rash or in milk baths, whatever. So it's never needs to be wasted. Another thing is, so because I'd had issues feeding Eden, everyone, including myself, assumed I'd have issues feeding Noah. So everyone said, you're getting the formula ready before you go, and bottles and all that. I did want a new sterilizer and bottle warmer. So for even when I was pumping and stuff like that for my parts. And then if I did have issues, obviously to do the bottles, and it came with bottles. So I did have bottles ready, but I told myself I wasn't going to buy the formula this time. Because I really felt that I was going to be able to breastfeed. On that note, I feel like, don't set yourself up for failure. I know it probably sucks hearing that, because you think, no, I know that I've got more issues, and I know that I have more issues than just the standard drink more water, get more rest, rah. But also in, like, my low supply groups, I know that some of the women say, about being prepared, and having formula on hand and stuff like that. So even though my doctors, myself, and everyone, we were all convinced that I had IGT and I'd never be able to breastfeed properly, I decided to just not allow myself to think like that, and to just, I guess, hope for the best and expect the worst. Really lucky that it did work out for me with Noah. And it worked for me. It doesn't work for everyone, okay? I know that, so I'm not... Please don't take that as me being one of those people that goes, you just need to do this, or you just need to do that. But what I'm saying is, for some of us, it's not a one experience is going to reflect for all your experiences. So just maybe keep that in mind for some of you. The next thing is getting a board certified lactation consultant. Now, I personally have had issues with nurses, midwives, child health, giving me very average to poor advice on breastfeeding. And I am quite honest about that, or quite open about that, even though I know some people might get a bit offended, and I'm sorry if you do, but that's my personal experiences. I have not had good advice from those people most of the time. So I don't feel like it's a good idea to take their advice. In my opinion, even though midwives do get training for breastfeeding, I don't think they get training for a lot of issues with breastfeeding. So, and same goes for child health and stuff like that, most of the time, unless they're a lactation consultant. So in my opinion, I think it's best to go looking for an international board certified lactation consultant, an IBCLC, to get really sound quality advice. To give you the best chance at breastfeeding. My husband calls it an investment. So the money we could potentially save on buying formula, I'm spending on a board certified lactation consultant, and a few other things too, which I'll talk about. So even though the upfront cost can be quite expensive, I think it's super handy, not just because I don't just breastfeed because of potentially saving money if you can do it well. Because for me, I've never assumed that it was going to be cheap. Because after Eden, I spent so much money on supplements and pumps and stuff like that, that I don't go into it thinking, hey, breastfeeding is free, it's going to save me money. But that definitely is one of the perks if it works for you. The reason I do it is because I know how good it is for Bub, and there's also benefits for me. But to be honest, I don't really care about that. I never really have, about the benefits for me. So that's my motivating factor. That's why I try and breastfeed as much as I can and give as much as I can. With Eden, I got to 6 months mixed feeding before the doctor said that she wouldn't give me any more domperidone. And within the next day of not taking the tablets, I was back to only being able to get 2 to 3 drops out per expression every 3 to 4 hours. And even on a full dose of that, plus other supplements and all that sort of stuff with her, my best ever would be 90 mils every 4 to 5 hours. With Noah, I wanted to beat that. So I wanted to get past 6 months mixed feeding, or bare minimum is get to that, I guess. So that was my goal with Noah. I obviously smashed that goal, and also the fact that I was able to exclusively breastfeed him for so long, that was awesome too. Now, exclusively breastfeeding Noah isn't the whole just put him on the breast and feed him that way. With him, I got to 8 weeks and I drank mother's milk tea. A lot of women on YouTube recommend mother's milk tea and say that that has really helped them with their supply. For me, it did the opposite. I drank one cup of tea from it. The next hour, my supply had already dropped. So I knew guaranteed every half an hour after feeding Noah, after he'd have a full feed, he'd have 4 breasts, they call it, so each breast twice over. And then I'd wait half an hour and I would pump. And every time I would get 110 mils. 110 mils or 130 mils? I can't remember. Guaranteed. So it was the hour or two after I had that tea, and I did the same thing, and that next pump I could only get 70 mils. And that's still really good for the average person. That then crashed again and continuously crashed. And then when I saw that my milk supply was crashing, I stressed out and went and drank the whole rest of the packet. And my milk was pretty much back to end up having the supplement. So I started using the supply line with my own milk. Now, thankfully, because I'd had such a good supply from the get go, I had donated almost 3 litres of my milk to another mum, who then gifted me the supply line when she heard that I was having the issues with my milk. And I managed to then use the rest of my stores from the freezer that I hadn't donated to get him exclusively on my milk, despite using the supply line as like supplementation with it, to 5.5 months. So 5.5 months he had nothing but breast milk. Then we started trying solids, to try and avoid having to use formula. Now, there's nothing wrong with using formula, but for me, I prefer to breastfeed. Okay, and again, I've had to use formula many times, so I'm really honestly not knocking formula feeders. This is just my experience. So yeah, from 5.5 months, I then ran out of my backup milk, and he had to end up being supplemented with formula, and he started trying solids, but he wasn't a big fan. But yeah, so I personally don't recommend the mother's milk tea, and the only ingredient I could see that in it that would be a problem is the fenugreek, and they say people only with, I think it's thyroid issues are supposed to have issues with fenugreek, but I don't have a thyroid issue, and that was the only ingredient that I could see that was a problem, or could have been a problem. So yeah, I don't recommend fenugreek to anyone anymore. Another thing is water intake. Like, people seriously underestimate your water intake. Like, it is so important. So really do not take it lightly when people say make sure you're drinking water. And the other thing is food, nutrition, good nutrition. So the thing is, the body is really capable of doing incredible things despite major stresses, underfeeding. I mean, you look in some of the third world countries and they manage to breastfeed their babies, with and be quite malnourished themselves. So it is doable, but where we're in circumstances where we can have proper nutrition and proper water and stuff like that, it makes the task so much less stressful and demanding on our body, and therefore easier to do it. So it's definitely important to watch, and for yourself and your babies, your mental state, everything, to make sure that you're eating well and drinking plenty of water. It's not to say don't enjoy yourself and have a bit of junk food and stuff like that, because I am a total advocate for junk food, but just make sure you're getting the good stuff in there as well, I guess. Because I know my issues aren't as simple as eat a bowl of oats and drink extra water, and I know it's the case for many people. I look deeper for deeper issues. So went to the board certified lactation consultant as soon as I knew there was an issue, and she spotted that Havila has issues with her mouth, so restricted tongue, small mouth, a few other things, right? So that's not something that I would have picked up for myself. When I realized I was having issues with my supply, it would have been so simple to go, oh, well, I have supply issues, and especially after 3 babies, I should know better. I have supply issues, I can't feed my baby, and either put her on formula or supplement with formula or whatever. I didn't want to do that, so I went to the board certified lactation consultant, and that's where we were at. So we started doing the exercises, lifting the tongue to the roof of her mouth, but when she's feeding, I have to press under here to train her tongue up properly so she can suck, and I have to adjust positioning slightly so that it flanges out the top lip, which is another thing, you guys, with Bub's latches and sucking being an issue that affects your supply. but they need to have their lip coming up and their bottom lip down. So that's another thing. The other thing is painful nipples. So they also say that you shouldn't have painful nipples for more than like 30 seconds when they attach. The thing is if you haven't had a baby sucking on your nipples 24/7 before or recently, they have very tiny mouths. And have you ever like rubbed your skin so much that it made a burn or rubbed it on something or whatever? There's friction. So I expect in like the first couple of weeks that you are going to have some pain from that. Obviously, like your ripped nipples and stuff that I've had to go through as well isn't a good thing. And mine have both been from ties and paw sucks and stuff like that. So there's different types of pain to look for, but do expect that there's going to be some friction from having a newborn on your nipples in some circumstances. Um, this time around, I haven't had that. I was only had sore nipples for like 2 or 3 days because I'd already been feeding Noah, and as I said, I had flat nipples, but they had come out because I'd already been feeding and pumping. And that's another thing I recommend if you have got flat nipples is to pump to bring them out and to learn to erect them before you feed and stuff like that. There's a bunch of tips that you can do to make it as easy as it can be possibly. Also, with my looking deeper, um, the high blood pressure came up. So I'm glad I went and got that checked. I'm on medication for that now. And I also found chiropractics for Barb. If they can't move their neck properly and get their head in the right position, if they can't open their mouth properly, there's a whole lot of stuff that the osteochiros can work on with the babies to help with their latch and their sucking. That obviously helps you with supply. And then with me, also, if there's tension in the neck or there's something affecting something else, whatever, then that can affect your letdowns. So that's why I also go and see the same chiropractor as I take Havila to and as I took Noah to work on that as a potential issue as well. The newest thing I found was the acupuncture. That there's a couple of points that help with, obviously, if you're helping with like stress and anxiety, relaxation, and that can all affect your letdown. So having those things can hinder your letdown. So being able to, I guess, conquer those things or not be as affected by them is going to be a benefit for you. And that's where the acupuncture can come in. And there's also points on your body that can target milk supply and letdowns as well. I believe they are in the pinkies, which I had done today, and also your shoulders, around your shoulders somewhere. I had those done today as well. And the blood flow, they reckon, again, help with stress and relaxation and that, which in turn helps with letdowns and milk supply. So I've had that done. They want me to have another couple more sessions, and we'll see how that one goes. I can't say whether or not these things are working, whether they are the answer or anything. None of it. I don't know yet. It's too soon to tell. But I have noticed just today alone, and I'm not saying this came from acupuncture either, I'm just saying that today this is what's happening, is that she's going through more nappies today. She's weeing through the nappies. And this week she's done 3 poos where she'd only done 1 poo in like, I don't know, 10 plus days, I guess, previously to that. So obviously those are improvements. So something is improving. And yes, I'm using the supply line to give my extra milk, but I'm not giving as much as I thought I was going to be. So I'm doing 30 ml top ups, but I'm probably only doing, I'm not keeping track of it either, but I guess maybe 6 a day. I guess I'd average about 6 a day. So that's where that's all at. I can tell, or I think I can tell that I'm getting letdowns more frequently. She seems more satisfied. So as I said, I haven't tracked the weight. I am going for another appointment with Bridget on Monday. That's the board certified lactation consultant I see on Monday. So I'll weigh her again and we'll see how much weight she's put on since I saw her Monday just gone. And that will give us an idea of where we're at, and we'll be able to gauge where we're going with top ups and how my pumping's going and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to give you guys like as much as I could think of on the spot knowledge on my circumstances with low supply and where my background is with the issues and all that sort of thing. And I guess I don't want to say the word educate because it's not like I'm a teacher or anything or that I'm a medical professional, but I guess to just give you um, the opinion and the stance I have of how things have worked for me, I guess. But anyway, I hope that helps someone. I hope someone can get a little gem out of that. And I wish you guys all the best on your breastfeeding journeys, and hopefully um, you get everything that you want out of it. And if you don't, just be proud because every drop counts. It really, really does. And that's gotten me through on so many occasions when I've wanted to quit. Anyway, guys, see ya.